Yes, everybody, what's going on? My name is Stephen Howson, and this is Instagram Q&A. You guys have been asking me questions over on my Instagram, and you can find the link for the Instagram in the description below, or right here on the screen, right there. That's where you can go and find me, Mr. Stephen Howson, Mr. Stephen Howson on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere, and Instagram is the one that kind of took over the stories and everything like that, and I love the conversational pieces that you can have with the question feature. So let's get straight into it. Let's not mess around. Here's the questions that you guys have been asking. So Red Devil 13 says, are you going to the next match with your friend after the nose slam? That was this. Yes, I will be going. In fact, this is Joe, actually. Joe sits next to me for every match, season ticket holder in the Stretford end with us, and he's an absolute liability. He busted up my neck at the Manchester derby that we lost. It was a consolation goal, but he got very carried away. He gets a bit excited when we score, should we say that? So yeah, he elbowed me in the nose this weekend. If you've not seen it, go check out the vlog. I'll throw a link to that in one of the corners, usually up in this corner in it, so go check that out. Next question says, Milan Dogra, what was the first ever game you went to Old Trafford as a kid? And it was 1990, I think it was 22nd of September 1990. It was Manchester United 3, Southampton 2, Brian McClare, Clayton Blackmore and Mark Hughes scored the goals, and there you go. First game. It's 28 years ago. I feel old. Next question. Why'd I choose to serve? Well, I'm not the only member of my family that has served. I'm assuming you mean in the army and not as somebody who stands on a Stretford end. Or when I used to work in a pizza shop. That's kind of serving, isn't it? Each generation in my family has served. I've got a cousin at the moment who's just starting to go through selection and things like that. And I can't say it's through any sort of strong sense of patriotism. I don't consider myself massively patriotic, certainly not. You know, there's a lot I do like about England, but I'm definitely not like a proper Brexit voting, immigrant hating, stereotypical squaddy. I think I served because it was just something I wanted to do. I think I'm pretty comfortable in conflict. I played rugby league to a very high level, academy level, professional and international level at junior age groups. I fought in a cage in MMA. I've always messed around with boxing, although I've never done it competitively, and I'm pretty comfortable bearing arms, to be honest with you. I still enjoy shooting and stuff. I go into the Peak District and I go shooting pretty regular every couple of months, just clay pigeon shooting because I enjoy it. I think it was just, there was never any sort of noble cause to go and serve. I never really saw it like that. I just thought it's a job, and it's a job that fits a lot of my sensibilities. That being said, it's definitely not for everybody, but I think it teaches you a lot of lessons, a lot of really valuable lessons like discipline, self-belief, self-reliance, bravery, both moral and physical. But you know, I'm glad I did it, even the bad stuff. Next question. It's from Stingers. Good old Mitch. Thoughts on Eddie Howe? Been impressed with his team this season and could be a contender, and unfortunately that's where it cuts off. You've got to keep these messages a bit short for us. Manager of the year, maybe he's going to say. Manager of the month, contender for a Europa spot. I don't know, we'll have to speculate. Here's what I'll say on Eddie Howe. Now, he's doing great at Bournemouth. He's building a team there on a budget, doing a fantastic job at what he's doing, but I think unless he wins something, and that can be a League Cup, man, why can't a team like Bournemouth go and win the League Cup? Because it's the bigger teams in it don't really treat it super seriously until at least the semi-finals, if not even the final sometimes. You've seen smaller teams get into the final. So if Eddie Howe was serious about his own ambitions and the ambitions of Bournemouth's football team, he should prioritise that for me and go and win a trophy. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a bit of a David Moyes syndrome. People are always looking at him going, I wonder what he'd do at a big club. And then ultimately the guy fails when he gets to a big club because he's never had to go out and actually prove he can win something. It's pretty easy to be a plucky underdog when everyone's on your side. But when you go and win a trophy, you put a bit of a target on you, I think. So I'd like to see him go and prove that he can do something and prove that he can be different to Moyes. And he's not just a new evolution of David Moyes. It's Connor Form 93, from 93 even says, out of all the youth prospects we've let go to other clubs, who would you bring back in January? Now, I'm assuming he means the likes of Januzaj and Drinkwater maybe, and Simpson, Bardsley, that kind of stuff. Can't have Paul Pogba because we kind of got the guy. Pereira, obviously, or unless he means Fosu Mensah. Tuanzebe. I think Tuanzebe probably would have got games at the moment, the way it's been going. So I'm not sure what the exact thing of the question is. So can I choose PK? We let him go to another club, didn't we? I'd love to bring PK back in the current situation that we find ourselves in. Yeah, Gerard PK, let's have him. Why are you so negative about Mourinho being in charge? It's too early to predict. Too early in the season to predict some or other. I don't know how many of my videos you've watched. I'm assuming none, going off the fact you think I'm negative about Mourinho. I honestly don't even know where to start with that. I'm just going to assume you have no idea who I am or any of the videos that I've done. How about that? Now, this weekend I was negative because I don't flip-flop with my feelings on somebody left and right just because we won a game. We won a game against a team that's never won a game this season. So I'm not going to flip-flop my ideas. Now, I've been mega supportive of Jose, probably over-supportive of Jose and over-critical of the board and critical of some of the players because I think this is a massively difficult job. You'll never see me demanding a manager get sacked, ever. But there does come a time when the manager might need to be changed. And I think United are in that kind of area at the moment because everything that I'm hearing from players inside the club and people inside the club is that Jose has formed massive cliques inside the dressing room. He's got his favourites that he likes, he's got the ones that he doesn't like, and he's trying to push them out. And there's a massive conflict in the team. And I think that the only way for United to move forward and to resolve this is probably a new guy. But I don't think a new guy comes in and solves all the problems. I think a new guy comes in and finds a lot of the same problems, but he might get more out of this team. And that is my major criticism of Jose at the moment, is that he's not getting enough out of this team. I can sympathise with him not getting his targets, 100%. I can sympathise with Ed Woodward prioritising different players over the ones that Jose wants. Money available for some but not for others. I absolutely sympathise with Jose over that. But here's the top and bottom of it. We should be beating Newcastle. We shouldn't be 2-0 down at home to Newcastle. We should be beating Derby. We should be beating Wolves. We should be beating Valencia at home. All of those, when you put them in a row together, are pointing at one thing. The manager is incapable of turning it around, and this squad is plenty good enough to be beating the likes of those teams. Now, is it good enough to win the league? No, I think it needed more than we got. But it's better than what it's currently showing. And I think you can change one guy, and that will change a little bit. There's still structural things that need to be fixed, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Philip says, has the victory on Saturday only bought Jose a small amount of time? Now, the leak, which David McDonnell has paid with his credentials as a journalist at Old Trafford, saying that United was going to get rid of him. And I wonder about that. I wonder if that leak was put out intentionally by the club to gauge fan reaction and see what would happen. I wonder if that leak was put out by the Mirror, thinking that something was very likely to happen and the mood at Old Trafford, and they knew they'd get tons of reads off it. I don't know. But I would think so. I would think if United going into the next 6 games that we have got are gross, honestly, they're so bad. If we don't win a single one of them games, can you see many people still sticking up for Jose Mourinho to be the United manager? Because I can't. Yes, I think he's only bought a small amount of time, and I'd be amazed if he's still here come the end of the season. El Toledo. If Zidane news is correct and he is not interested, who could we get as a manager instead? Here's the thing that worries me about this Manchester United board is that at the time of Moyes going, Louis van Gaal was a quite obvious appointment. At the time of Louis van Gaal going, Jose Mourinho was a quite obvious appointment. And that worries me, that you're only making obvious appointments. Like, by all accounts, Nagelsmann has signed a deal to go to Leipzig. But if United appointed somebody like Nagelsmann, somebody that's doing bits in a foreign league, being really innovative, a young, fresh coach that's got ideas, that to me would represent United actually doing something where they've done their homework. Because it feels almost very FIFA-ish, doesn't it? Where Ed Woodward goes, who's the biggest manager available at the moment? Like if United appointed Ancelotti, or United appointed, for Ancelotti, you're basically just reappointing Louis van Gaal. in more or less. A guy that's been around Europe at the biggest clubs. Similar sort of age. I want them to look outside the box. I want them to go and do some homework. There's got to be some incredible managers doing work around Europe and around the world at the moment. Who knew Sir Alex Ferguson? Really? Yes, he'd won a league in Scotland. Yes, he'd gone and won a cup. But who really knew Sir Alex Ferguson and what he was about? Well, United did, because they did their homework on the guy and was tracking him for a long time. Killian says, if you had to start one academy player in the first team right now, who would it be and why? Tuanzebe. Because we need stability at centre-half, and he's actually better than some of the centre-halves that we've got. And that is it. If it's an academy player that's at the club at the moment, who would I start? Aside from Tuanzebe, there's not many other obvious starters in and around the academy at the moment. I couldn't make a real top argument for even Greenwood to start, to be honest. I could make plenty of arguments for them to get minutes and to come off the bench, but not to be starting regularly right now, I don't think. The Barbell Bull says, do you believe Jose has it in him to let the team go 100% attacking? No, I absolutely don't. Jose's not going to change what he's worked with for his entire career. Now, there might be small adjustments to that, but he's not going to completely overhaul what he's always done and go with a whole different thing. We knew this when we was getting Jose, and you know what you need when you get Jose, and you have to play the game accordingly. If you no longer want Jose, and you want a manager that's going to go attacking and this, that and the other, then you appoint that manager. You don't appoint Jose Mourinho and ask him to be anyone else except Jose Mourinho. You put a lot of principles aside to get Jose Mourinho in. You have to pay the piper. You have to do what that man demands. Because I tell you this, Jose Mourinho, given the resources and the backing of a board, wins titles. That is a fact, wherever he goes. Now you can say, oh, he does this, that and the other. It's third season meltdown, not a long-term manager. Cool. He fucking wins titles when he's given the backing that he deserves. So back the guy. Don't bring him in and ask him to do it on a shoestring. Don't bring him in and ask him to play players that you want. Bring him in, give him what he wants, watch the titles come in. Whether or not he bounces after 3 seasons or not, whatever. But that's what you get with Jose Mourinho. You got to pay the piper. You got to do what's required for the guy. G7 Sev says, using your bare hands, how many feral cats could I take on? I'm going to have to kill these cats, aren't I? Because I don't think you can, stun a cat. I reckon once they get up for it, you're fighting to the death with a cat. Now, cats have got sharp claws, and I'm going to get pretty fucked up here. But for the most part, unless they get, a major artery, which is pretty unlikely, if I can wear a scarf, I've only really got to worry about my eyes. Otherwise, I'm just going to get loads and loads of scratches, and that's going to sting. I reckon I could do 20 cats. Not really a problem, I don't reckon. I reckon you've got to start booting cats, haven't you? And scattering them. Because you can't really have them all just come on at you at once. That might overwhelm you a bit, yeah, I reckon. What do you reckon in the comments? How many cats do you reckon you could take on at once? And what's your technique for defeating said cats? The TD guy says, where do you see us finishing this season? Champions League spots or Europa League spots or none of the above? We can easily finish 4th. I don't think we can easily finish top 3 unless one of the teams above us has a bit of a meltdown and a bit of a wobble. I hope Chelsea win the league for obvious reasons. Yeah, I think it'll be City, Chelsea and Liverpool that are in the fight. 4 spots open. Arsenal are playing all right at the moment, but they've still got to get into the meat of the Europa League. We all know how that affects anyone. We've got to get through these 6 games that are on our horizon and see where we lie on the back end of that. Tottenham will probably find form at some point because they're probably the most stable out of us and Arsenal and them. So you're in a bit of a dogfight for 4th place. If I'm going to be honest, I think with everything considered, even if we change the manager before Christmas, 5th place is probably where United are going to end up. But fingers crossed we can get in there and stay in the Champions League because there's problems if we don't get in there, isn't there? Daniel McNamara 2 says, how does Connor come back from yesterday and why are all the leaks coming from United? The leaks that are coming from United, aside from the mirror one that they got wrong this weekend, there's leaks coming out of United because a lot of players have fell out with Jose, so they don't feel the need to now keep things that would have been kept secret. And Rio's one to talk about this, to be honest, because he was the cause of a lot of the leaks under the Moyes regime, because he wasn't happy the way he was being spoke to by Moyes, being asked to go and watch tapes of Phil Jagielka. Why do you think that came out? Who do you think brought that out? Of course it was Rio. As for who's doing it now, I don't know, to be honest. I know all the different players that I fell out with him, but none of them really strike me as having major relationships with any top journalists, or having been here long enough to establish that. So I'm confused as everybody about where these leaks are coming from. But when you look at some of the people who are doing the briefing, or where the briefs are coming through, it's quite obvious to see who's doing some of them. But from the Jose side and the Woodward side, but I don't know who it is doing it from the playing side. Jordy Potnell says, do I think Rashford has been overhyped based on his stats? Well, let's have a look here at the stats, because this was from a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how up to date this is right now. It might have changed, but if it has changed a little bit, it's not changed much. This is Cristiano Ronaldo and Marcus Rashford's first 3 seasons. Minutes, not much between it. Appearances, not much between it. Games started and off the bench, spookily close. Goals, Rashford's got more. Assists, Rashford's got a little bit less. Cristiano was also playing in a team at the time with Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs. It was Wayne Rooney and pre-Wayne Rooney at the same time. Ruud van Nistelrooy. This is a hell of a different football team than the one that we're seeing now. Marcus is doing just fine. You'd obviously like him to be scoring more, playing more, affecting games more, but he's doing just fine. Think of the trajectory that he's had in this last 3 years. It's unheard of, almost. 2.5 years, essentially. It's unheard of in the Premier League, really, at the moment. People just don't come through at top clubs like that no more. They come through at a smaller club and then go to a top club. So I'm not worried about Rashford. I think there's a hell of a player in there, and a bit of patience and regular playing time, and in the same position. If he's going to play on the right, let's play him on the right regular, and I think you might see something out of him there. Sandy Zozar says, when should we expect videos on the History of United series? Great first episode, by the way. We should hopefully be recording episode 2 this week, probably today as this goes out. So keep your eyes peeled for that one, and hopefully it'll be out in the next 10 days or so. Van Basten or Batistuta? Ooh. Batistuta for me, because really Van Basten's peak was just before I started watching, and Batistuta, everybody loves, don't they? Football Italia, James Richardson, that sort of stuff. Italian football in the 90s was the shit. Batistuta was one of the big fish in that as well. So Batistuta for me on that one. Lenin Liveshits says, what's your thoughts on the Conor and Khabib fight, and do you think Conor will lose the rematch? Did I have another Conor one earlier that I forgot to answer? Where's that gone? Oh yeah, it was from Daniel McNamara. How does Conor come back from this? We missed it talking about the leaks, don't we? So anyway, I'll cover that one in this one. I thought it was, in the build-up to it, I was saying 55-45 leaning towards Khabib. For the simple fact of the intangible is that left hand of Conor. We don't know when someone that hits as hard as Conor hits Khabib, what's going to happen. So you have to put a lot on that. But my gut feeling, as I was saying all the way through it, is in these circumstances, quite often the grappler is going to prevail, because that's just the way this sport has gone. And even on those rare occasions that the puncher is able to get it done, someone that's the elite level of grappler that Khabib is going to get the job done. Unbelievable performance. Where he goes down on the greatest of all time for this list, I don't know. I think he probably needs to do it at another weight. And I watched the whole card again back last night. And as I was sitting there at the end watching the post-fight show, and I'm looking at Tyron Woodley and I'm going, I wonder what Tyron Woodley and Khabib would do. What a fight that could be. Because Tyron wouldn't be worried about the takedown. And Tyron would be headhunting in a way that McGregor... See, there was a couple of things that was at play. Because McGregor was so fearful of the takedown, he did a couple of things that he doesn't normally do. Now, he has his hands fairly low, but he normally has them in a karate stance. So they're around about his middle. He had his hands almost completely down. And when you have your hands almost completely down, it takes a little bit longer to raise them before throwing them. But he also has them there in preparation for the takedown. And I think he also had his hands down to try and lull Khabib into boxing with him a little bit, because as a counter-puncher, you can't really land a counter-punch without someone punching at you first. That's when he's looking to find weaknesses, gaps, find a bit of movement. And it was kind of working at times. They got into those trades, but Khabib didn't wobble. And as you saw, Khabib managed to put Conor down temporarily, which is nuts. You think, this is a guy that went 9 rounds with Floyd Mayweather last year. And now he's being put on his arse by Khabib, who's as stiff as an ironing board when it comes to striking. But what happens is it's a pure confidence thing. McGregor's confidence is not in his striking. He's not throwing completely because he didn't throw his legs. He didn't really kick except for the teeps to the stomach, really, because he's wary of Khabib grabbing his legs. I thought it was a fascinating fight, but it went the way I lent to expecting it to go. The calls for a rematch, I don't see any reason whatsoever for a rematch to happen. What basis is there for a rematch to happen? The carnage that happened afterwards, I think, shown how much pressure was on Khabib at the time, and that a lot of it was what Conor had intended, and a lot of that Conor had put on him. Madness. Enjoyable. Crazy. Brilliant. Beautiful. Everything. That's why we love the UFC. What next for Conor? Very interested to see if they make a 166-pound division. Move 170 up to 175 and introduce a 195, because I think that's what they've got to do. You've got 125, 35, 45, 55, 65. I think that'd be the way to do it. And Conor can be the champ. You know, the first one to win titles at 3 different weight classes. I think that'd be brilliant. But who does he fight? It annoys me that Nate Diaz is considered someone that he should be fighting. Nate Diaz shouldn't really be on this level. He's on the level because he beat him. Shouldn't really be on this level. Where does he go from here, though? I don't know. I don't know if he's just going to bob around doing the super fight thing. Rankings, belt structure, champions has kind of gone out the window since WME bought the UFC, so we will find out, I'm sure. Arun Cassie says, what's the most valuable lesson you learned from your experience in the army? I think perspective. You see a lot of people, certainly on fan channels and fan cams, absolutely losing their mind. You never see me lose my mind like that, because I have perspective of real life. You see people blown up, you see people carried back in coffins. Football doesn't matter as much. I still love the thing. Don't misquote me on this, because I know people love doing that. But I have perspective. As much as I love the football, you're not going to see the sort of things that you see in a war zone. So I have perspective, and I think it taught me perspective, it taught me patience, and it taught me that generally people trying to do the right thing all the time. Sometimes it doesn't come off. So I would say that perspective and patience, most valuable thing. And on that note, I am about to wrap it up. So thank you guys for watching. Come and follow me over on Instagram and get involved the next time that we're doing one of these. Give all them guys a follow as well if you want, that have joined in and asked us questions. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Laters.